So hi, I'm Lynette Ellison, fractional marketing for investors and community, and I am very proud to have Mark Storey of S&4Cs on the call with me today. So welcome, Mark. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're more than
so
welcome.
Thank you. So for those who may not know S&4Cs, could you give us a quick intro to what you do and the support you give?
Of course, yeah. So S&4C stands for Sheffield Churches Council for Community Care, which is quite a mouthful to reel off every time. Hence, we refer to ourselves as S&4Cs. We've been around for 60 years, but in the last decade, we've completely transformed. Our focus is on older people, especially those who are isolated, in poor health, or falling through the gaps in health and social care. So essentially, we step in where statutory services stop. That might mean helping somebody get safely discharged from hospital, providing short-term support at home, or matching them with a befriender to reduce chronic loneliness. Many of the people we support have no family nearby, or in a lot of cases, no one at all. They're often vulnerable, and the system isn't set up to prioritise them. Now, if I can give you a couple of examples, that might help. So one of them is when somebody's discharged home with a hospital bed requirement, the bed is often delivered. But if you've been an older couple living together all your lives, then you're primarily going to have double sheets, double quilts, things like that. So there's no bedding for a hospital bed, and a hospital bed gets sent. What do you do if you've no money, if you've no you can't get out, you're 90 years old, you're caring for your partner who's 90 years old. So we provide bedding. We noticed that there was a gap, and we decided that, well, actually, rather than have somebody running out and searching for bedding, which may stop a discharge, we would just provide it. So when somebody's going home, if we're involved, we would take bedding and make the bed up so that the person can be discharged straight home and into the hospital bed. So it makes the whole process easier. Do the befriending. We provide food parcels for those who have just been discharged, who have no food or anything. And we get some random ones, like taking a budgie to Northern General, so that the owner of the budgie could hold him for one last time before she died. Another case is Philip and Sam the dog. Now, Philip was an end-of-life patient at Northern General, and the nursing staff, rang around various places and eventually came to us and said, we don't know what to do with this. We've got a man who's end of life. He wants to see his dog for one last time. His dog is deaf and blind and in the kennels, and we've no way of getting him here. So they rang us. We said, well, we'll work out a way. We picked up a dog crate from my house, went and collected Sam and took him to the hospital. Now, this dog was deaf and blind, but as soon as it went in that room, it knew that its owner was there, and it tried climbing up on the bed. It needed a bit of help, and it cuddled straight into him. The nurses were crying, my team were crying, and they had a good hour with each other before it was time for Sam to leave. Now, Sam obviously left and went back to the kennels and ended up being adopted. Philip never came home. But it's about that compassion. It's about making a difference in somebody's life, and even though that was right at the end of his life, it still made a huge difference. We work alongside the NHS and social care, but we're often not seen as part of the system, and that sometimes works in our favour, as it gives us the freedom to be quick, human, and flexible. And we've grown from supporting 2,300 people a year to over 9,200, and from a team of 7 staff to nearly 50 staff, and from 35 volunteers to around 187 volunteers. So in a nutshell, that's us.
Amazing. So Mark, you talked about the growth that you guys have experienced over the past 10 years. So that is an incredible leap. What do you think has been the main driving factors for that growth?
Yeah, thank you. I think Investors in Community platform has got a lot to do with it. That the the time when we joined was Christmas, and it's always high pressure. You've got high discharge rates, you've got cold weather, you've got flu, you've got higher demand, resources are stretched. So, you can assume that it's going to be the worst time to take on something new. But I saw it as a long-term win. It's different to other platforms. It's not just a donation platform. It connects us to businesses looking for meaningful partnerships, not just one-off giving. We're there as a charity in a more equal, structured way. As I say, it's not just about giving money, it's about giving time, expertise, in-kind resources. As an organisation, we track social value, and that really matters to us. And being able to measure impact carefully is vital, and few platforms support that level of accountability. Investors in Community does. So, in the middle of all the chaos, and I'd only just really come into S&4Cs at that point, I made the call. Was it worth it? If we wanted long-term, values-driven partnerships with the private sector, we had to put ourselves where those conversations were happening. And, Investors in Communities give us the space to do that. Now, the growth that we've experienced, we've gone from around 2,300 to over 9,200 service users. And that's an incredible leap. And whilst Investors in Community played a part of that, or the platform played a part of that, that growth is staggering. But it hasn't happened overnight, and it hasn't happened by accident. It's not luck, it's structure, mindset, and a refusal to stay small. We've grown because we've got intentional. We've stopped treating ourselves like a small charity, and we started running like a serious organisation with a clear mission and infrastructure to deliver it. That meant changing how we think and how we operate. We built capacity in advance. We invested in systems, staff, and leadership in anticipation of need, not just in response to crisis. We tracked our outcomes properly. I mentioned outcomes earlier and impact. We made that central to key decision making. We report clearly, and we use that to improve and expand on what we do. We even capture the types of jobs that we've turned down, so we can identify any gaps. We work directly with the people facing the problems, not from a distance. We didn't design services in a boardroom. We listened to hospitals, referrers, families, and older people. Then we built what was missing. One of our team, Gav, was taking an older man home from hospital. He had no family, no support. And when they arrived, Gav realised that he had no food in the house, no plates, no cutlery, nothing. Gav rang the office, but then just took it upon himself to go out and buy everything the man needed to get by. That's the level of autonomy that our team have. We trust them to solve problems in the moment. On his way out, Gav noticed water leaking from the ceiling. He traced it to the flat upstairs, spoke to the older woman there, isolated the water, rang the council to get an emergency plumber out. That's not in anybody's job description, but it's exactly what we do. And if we hadn't been there, who would have done it? That's why we exist, and that's why we have the growth. We've also got braver with partnerships, working with the NHS, local authorities, and platforms like Investors in Community. Most of all, we decided we weren't content with helping a few. Older people deserve better. So we set out to reach as many as we could without compromising quality. We've reached more people because we've been willing to show up, ask for help, and deliver at scale. Growth came from acting like the scale of the problem was ours to solve.
Beautiful. That was lovely. Thank you. Goodness me, what a story! It makes you, when your arms go up, that's when you know you're hearing an impactful story. It's incredible. You guys do such an amazing job.
Thank you.
So, Mark, we talked previously about how you shifted the mindset and the governance and the way that you run S&4Cs over the past 10 years, which you feel has impacted the growth, the significant growth that you guys have experienced. So moving over to your personal journey to support that. So you went to college and earned an MBA, and through that, I imagine there's new approaches to governance and leadership and your growth. So what's been the biggest kind of shift for you personally going through that MBA?
Yeah, okay. Well, I made an intentional shift, first of all, about the way that SM4Cs runs. But to be blunt, I really didn't have a choice. When I became CEO of SM4Cs, the organisation didn't have a strategy. It had limited reserves, outdated governance, no succession planning, and everything came through me. I became the bottleneck. The work we were doing mattered, but we weren't able to survive long term, let alone scale. I realised that I couldn't keep doing everything myself, and I couldn't expect growth from a structure that wasn't built for it. Meeting leaders outside of the sector, especially through Vistage, changed how I thought. It challenged me to think like a CEO, not just a manager. And that's when I started building SM4Cs like an organisation, not just a cause. I also realised that charities can't keep operating on goodwill and panic. We need a strategy, systems, accountability. That's when I started building up SM4Cs like an organisation. We adopted business tools, built a leadership team, and brought in external expertise to fill the gaps. Now, we're still a charity, but we're run with the discipline, pace, and ambition that you'd expect from any high-performing organisation. And a lot of that was driven through my going to college to study the level 7 CMI, Strategic Management and Leadership, I think is the course, and also the MBA. And that sort of kicked me up the backside, I suppose. And I realised that all the stuff that I needed to do, I wasn't doing because I was doing everything. And the biggest shift through going to do the studying has been letting go of the idea that I have to do it all. I used to feel responsible for every decision, every relationship, every problem. And that's common in small charities, especially when you've been there through the rough patches. But at some point, that becomes a bottleneck. And I realised that I was the ceiling on our growth. I thought leadership meant holding everything together. It doesn't. It means building a team that functions without you. That's hard, particularly when you've carried an organisation through a few years. But it's essential if you want to grow. College helped, as I say, and so did Vistage. But the real shift came when I saw how talented our team was. When I was creating space for them, so I started to create space for them to lead, innovate, and sometimes fail. Now that's hard at first, but now it's the most freeing part of my role. And I saw this when one of our leaders developed a new service model entirely on her own and delivered it far better than I ever would have done. That was the turning point. I realised my job isn't to hold the steering wheel, it's to build a vehicle. And I moved from firefighting to focusing on strategy, culture, and relationships. That's where I can add more value. And the team, they drive delivery.
Amazing. This leads on beautifully to my next question, which is the example that you've given about how running a charity like a business with that mindset and how important that is could be a potential game changer for many charities. What do you think charities stand to gain when they adopt a more professional business-like approach to running their charity?
Yeah, everything. You don't lose your values, you give them structure. You attract better talent, make smarter decisions, and you scale what works. You stop wasting time on chaos, and you stop relying on heroic individual effort to keep the wheels turning. A lot of charities do great work, but they burn out because they're running on goodwill, not structure. If you want long-term impact, you need governance, leadership, data, HR, risk management, all the things that businesses treat as normal. Professionalizing doesn't mean selling out. It means treating your mission with the seriousness it deserves. And it's especially important when you work with vulnerable people. If you wouldn't tolerate sloppy systems in a hospital, don't accept them in a charity. When you run like a business, you make better decisions, attract a higher caliber of staff and trustees, gain credibility with funders and partners, and create space to innovate and scale.
Thank you, Mark. So, Mark, how can businesses in the IIC network help charities like yours, and what kind of support makes the biggest difference?
Yeah, the best support is strategic, not just symbolic. Think beyond the check. Of course, we appreciate donations and we're never going to turn a check down, but often time and expertise go further. So join our board or offer governance advice, offer pro bono skills, finance, comms, HR. Introduce us to decision makers, people who can open doors, commissioners, funders, media, run workshops for our team on leadership, resilience, operations, and help us with systems and tools. The best partnerships are ones where we can learn from each other. Investors in community makes this kind of support easier. It gives businesses a platform to engage meaningfully, and it gives us a way to show value in return. We're not looking for handouts, we're looking for partnerships. And one of our volunteers told us they changed their career path after volunteering with us. They saw what real loneliness looks like, and it hits home. That kind of exposure, that kind of connection, it changes people. Businesses have the power to create those connections at scale.
Beautiful. Thank you. So Phil Webb, the founder of Investors in Community, told me that he feels that your story is one that every charity should hear, and I agree. What would you say to other charity leaders who are thinking about scaling or evolving their approach?
I'd say start now. Don't wait for things to be perfect. They never will be. The hardest part is getting out of your own way. I learned from experience. You don't need permission to lead differently. You just need to act and back yourself. Start by being honest about your bottlenecks. Be honest about what's broken. Stop chasing validation. Then I'd say get external perspective and challenge. Step outside of your bubble. There are people out there who've already solved the problems that you're struggling with. Borrow from them. And if something works, scale it. Don't mistake small for safe. It isn't. Staying small when demand is growing is a decision, and it has consequences for the people you're not reaching. If your mission matters, scale should be on the table. But don't scale chaos, scale systems. And remember, the charity sector is full of good intentions, but good intentions alone don't build resilient organisations.
Thank you. So, Mark.
Yeah.
Finally, what's next for SM4Cs? How can people get involved?
We're working on two big things, Lynette. First, we're scaling our dementia support because demand is growing and it's growing fast, and families need more than the current system provides. We see often that you've got two older people, again 90 years old, both have dementia, one's caring for the other, and it's quite sad. We're building tools, training, and volunteer-led support to make the scaling of our dementia support easier. We're also investing in digital infrastructure to make sure we can grow responsibly. We want to use tech to improve access, track impact, and future-proof our delivery without losing the human connection that defines our work. If people want to get involved, there's loads of options. You can volunteer in your own community, and we've got a waiting list of 500 older people who need a friendly visitor. We could also do with support on our hospital to home and back home teams. You can offer skills or mentorship to our team. You can fund a pilot or support our expansion. You can partner with us to trial new ideas, see if they work. We're brave in that way. Bring us into your own networks, donate to our cause, or even join us at our 60th anniversary gala dinner. If you care about people and want to do something meaningful, we'll find a way to work together. Now, we had a volunteer who visited the same gentleman every week for over a year. When he didn't answer his door one week, the volunteer raised the alarm. It turned out he'd fallen and was unconscious. That visit may have saved his life. These aren't just services, they're lifelines, and people within businesses can get involved in that and actually make a real tangible difference. But at the end of the day, we're here to work with anyone who wants to do something meaningful and not just feel good.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you so much.